During the early days of the PlayStation, there were very few games that managed to really push the physical and visual capabilities of the system. But there were a few games that were released within the first 2 to 3 years that gradually started to see and produce high quality visual effects that would prove that the console had a lot more to offer than what was originally thought possible. And in 1997, we would see that exact effect with Rapid Racer, otherwise known as turboprop racing in North America and in Japan. That was developed exclusively for the PlayStation alone, that allows you to take control of various speed or motorboats across 6 original tracks that can be raced in mirror mode, and you can unlock additional features, tracks and rounds, even boats, by winning championships and completing bonus objectives throughout each of the races that you'll have to face as you play. The game itself was also one of the first original games to make and take full advantage of the new DualShock controller of the time, allowing you to steer the boat with the twin analog sticks and using various vibration functions due to the intensity of different elemental types. With it being a boat racing game, the vibrations would depend heavily on the water or rapids. The more powerful the waves, the more intense the response, and vice versa. So once you manage to complete all of the 6 tracks in the championship, you would gain access to additional tracks, which you could use a generator to choose them randomly for you, or you could manually choose your own. That added longevity to the experience. Originally, development on Rapid Racer began in 1995, and 6 months were spent on just modelling the physics and behaviour of the water alone. And the game's soundtrack was composed of many tracks from Apollo 440 amongst other artists. As a result of the game's release, it did receive fairly decent reviews, but was left feeling a bit lackluster, as yes, there was a lot of time put into various visual elements, as it was considered to be one of the most visually impressive games of its time, as it really utilised the full power of the PlayStation, being able to run everything in high resolution, which was definitely a new feat that rarely had been seen on the console. And it had great use of physics with regards to the water and how it affected the environment and even the boats that you were in, but it was criticised due to the handling physics and the overall difficulty of the boats and just the environments in general, stating that many elements of most of the environments were very short and narrow, and just the overall controls of the boat to be either twitchy or very clunky, that kind of diluted the experience. So it just felt somewhat unbalanced, as there was so much effort put into the visual aesthetics but not enough into the gameplay. That was the main argument in magazines, and it is easy to see why, because when you do sit down to play this game, yes, it is a good game, but there definitely is elements, and it is apparent to be seen that a lot more time was spent on one side more so than the other, because it is a tough game to master. The AI is also quite difficult to overcome as well, and you also have to deal with the challenges of many obstacles. You have to deal with other opponents, the narrowness of the tracks, even sometimes the collision detection can completely throw you off, almost to the point that it can whip the boat around almost in a 360 spin and completely just make you lose any sort of progression or lead that you currently had, all from a moment's lapse in concentration. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be the case, you just hit a wrong wave at the wrong time and that's it, it's pretty much game over, which led to the reviews as such, because many people stating that they just found the game too frustrating for it to be enjoyable. And I even found this myself, spending time playing the game, and I have played it on and off over the years, and that was one of the main issues. Right, it does take quite a few tries to win races, but you'll find in most cases there's certain tracks more so than others that you'll find yourself playing so many times just to get one good run at it, and all for it to be completely upended and destroyed over either a lapse in concentration or just hitting the wrong piece of the environment or a wave at the wrong time that will literally destroy any progress, which will result in you having to try the race again. And once you've tried it enough times, you will get to a point where you'll just say enough is enough. Like, even going back, my first experience with this game in particular was actually on a demo disc that came with a few other games at the time, and I just remember the iconic music track that it had. It really stood out, and it was just the visuals of the game itself. I had never seen anything that looked as visually appealing in terms of its polish. Yes, there were other very good looking racing games on the system. Like, at that point we had like the Formula 1 games, and there was a few other games that were definitely up there and were considered among the best of their time, but Rapid Racer was definitely, I think, the most polished looking game in terms of its environmental physics, and even with the likes of the boats, it was definitely the smoothest looking game that ran in the highest resolution. Only games that came after it, with the likes of Gran Turismo with the high resolution mode, and even some other games that came came later on definitely managed to equal that or better that in many ways, and they played better as a result. But at the same time, this was a very different approach to racing games, as it focused more on water sports more than anything else. Like, it's still a good solid experience, but it's one of those games that will require a lot of time and effort, and more so patience, to get right, and a lot of it does revolve around sheer luck in order to win races. That's one of the main throwbacks with this game, is that it is luck based to determine your overall success. But visually it still holds up well today. While there is more detail in other games that came after it, you can't help but deny the boundaries that it pushed when it released back in 1997. It was in many ways groundbreaking for what it did represent, but like I said, it made up for it in many ways, but it definitely lacked in others. But it's still a worthwhile experience that definitely broke new grounds on the console at that time, and for that reason alone it is worth a try at least. You just will have to be patient with it, that's all I'll say. And even visually now, the game still does hold up well today. In fairness to it, it does. But again, like I said, it's just a very, very, very tough game. This is not an easy pick up and play game at all. For those that have played it over the years, you will definitely understand and you'll know how tough this game truly is. But it is very rewarding once you do master it, or you do happen to get lucky to achieve everything in the game. And I'm sure that there's only a select few people out there that have managed to do that due to the overall difficulty of it. And for those that have, hats off to you, because this, like I said, is one tough game to master, and not many people will have succeeded with it. But I would love to know your thoughts of Rapid Racer or Turboprop Racing, whichever region it was published in that you had the opportunity to play it in. And what are your unique stories of this game? Did you enjoy the overall visual appeal of it, or did you find it equally as frustrating as most of us did to play it back in the day? So be sure to share it down in the comments below. And if you would like to see more content around other unique and obscure games like this that were also released on the PlayStation, then you can check out the playlist on screen to see more of those games in action. And as always, keep those gaming memories alive.